GM?
GM.
Oh, GM. So the plan today, Mr. Kyle, Mr. Envy the Syntax, I guess we're going to be going through the State of Crypto report that was recently released by A16Z, and bit of feedback there. Yeah, so essentially, Envy the Syntax, our guest here today, Kyle, he sent me the State of Crypto report, and it seemed pretty interesting. It seemed like something that we should discuss and go through. So that's what we plan to do here on stream right now. So if I can just share my screen. And yeah, essentially we'll go through it in real time together.
It's going to be quite interesting. I think stable coins are the new meta.
Yeah, they seem to be finding their place.
Finding their place, yeah.
No, that's not what we want, is it? Okay, unfortunately, Carl, can you see this okay if I leave the screen like this?
Why is the Google Slides not working?
It hasn't opened it up. When I click Google Slides, it comes up with my own personal presentation slides, and it doesn't come up with this particular one, unfortunately. Okay. So
yeah, I was also trying to read it. Yeah.
Oh, enter full screen. Okay, so we can. Yeah, my bad. Okay, there we go. You should be able to see it full screen. Okay, so the State of Crypto 2024 A16Z Crypto Report, and we're just going to have a scan through. We're particularly interested in the ZK aspects. I may turn the music off because I'm finding that distracting today. We usually like to have a bit of background music, but yeah. I think maybe we'll go without the music. So let's have a flick through. So we don't need to read the disclosures. So various contents in this. How big is crypto today? Crypto has become a key political issue. Infrastructure is maturing. Key applications are emerging. What do we know about crypto's builders? What's next for crypto? I believe the ZK section, or they talk about ZK fairly heavily in this third section. Infrastructure is maturing, if I remember rightly. So yeah, let's have a flick through. So how big is crypto today? That's a good question.
I heard someone speaking about that. It's like maturing faster and being adopted, faster than, mobile apps and the internet when it was first like conceived. So that was really quite impressive. I didn't expect that.
Yeah, so that's actually something. So there's a chap called Raoul Pal. I'm sure you've heard of him. I'm sure many people have heard of him. Very famous. He's essentially like a macro guy, like a macro perspective, ex-investment banker turned like hardcore crypto investor. And yeah, he's been saying for a very long time that the adoption rate of crypto like far exceeds that of the internet, which is mind-blowing. Like it's just that statement and that statistic in itself speaks volumes, so about where we're going and about where we are and about how
it almost lines up with you saying that crypto is very much in I think you said it was 2019, 2016.
Oh, is it ZK? So I said ZK is like, yeah, I see ZK as being 2015, 2016 era. Like if you were to compare it with like the blockchain, the way the adoption rates happened.
I mean, that's 7 years away. That's that 1 billion, internet users. So 7 years from then, yeah, it basically lines up.
In fact, in our virtual conference on Tuesday, so we had the interview with Ellie Ben-Sasson, and Alice, our host Alice, asked Ellie, essentially, what advice would you give to people in the space, in the blockchain and ZK space? And Ellie said that he sees the one mistake that people keep making in their almost like perception of the space and what's happening is believing that we're anywhere near the end state, like near the end game. He said that we're still astronomically early in the development of this. And I think that's why, like, if you compare it to like the early internet boom and, is the internet going to be here to stay? What's its use cases going to be? Like, how much are people going like, people were barely using it. Like people might dial into AOL or something, and use it as like a social platform in the beginning. And like your everyday person wasn't really using the internet, and then now it's just like now it's integrated in our daily lives in a way that we can't get away from it, even if we wanted to. So it's interesting, and I think Ellie makes a very good point, and it's something that I keep saying too. It's like it's like in our last conversation when we were discussing benchmarks, and I said I think I made this like closing statement saying, take it all with a pinch of salt. You know, we're extremely early. Benchmarks are going to be changing all the time. There's going to be new tech developing, and essentially we're just very, very, very early. And
Yeah, I couldn't agree
so yeah,
more.
this is something that we all should bear in mind. Like we're this is a very long term thing, and we're right at the beginning of it. So very very exciting times. Uh, so monthly active addresses hit an all time high of 220 million, with growth reminiscent of early internet adoption. Exactly, exactly, exactly. Um, let's continue flicking through. Addresses are proliferating across many blockchains, with Base and Solana as the most active. So Solana, I believe, is your favorite chain, Kyle, and
I have in the past few weeks, I really like. It always was something I believed in the most, but it's just been too much issues and there's too much excitement in ETH at the moment. So I think I'm coming back. I'm coming back home.
coming back home, I like
Mm,
it.
yeah.
So near protocol, that was always like a really interesting one. Um,
Mm.
I first looked into near. It's kind of like back in 2020. I remember like looking at their team, and they had a team of like world champion. Is it like ICHP, like this programming world championships? And they had all these people that had won it, and all these ex Google people that had done sharding at Google, and it's just like, yeah, this looks like a solid investment. But in more
Yeah.
like recent times, their marketing seems to be jumping from one narrative to the next. So this is putting me off them. It's making me think that unless they just have a bad marketing team, but they don't seem to be able to stand strong with conviction on any particular narrative. So they're
Well
initially
said.
obsessed with like they're obsessed with like having a sharding L1, and then it was becoming EVM compatible and being like the main blockchain to scale ETH, like almost like an L2. And then now they've like recently jumped to AI, and then they did this big kind of like, I don't know if you saw it, but like their Twitter had been taken over by some hacker, and it turned out to be like a
Oh
big
yeah.
publicity stunt. And it's just like, if you're serious, they're clearly attention grabbing, like they're obviously without saying.
I think
But it's like,
Sui seems to be, if I would bet on any of them, Sui would be the main one. And I think maybe it's slightly outdated because just in the past like week or two, they've they've gotten an enormous amount of adoption. Most people from Solana who move their money across, most of them are moving to Sui. I think I'm saying it incorrectly, but um, yeah, I think
yeah,
they are up and coming giant.
I couldn't give you much light on the pronunciation. But I do believe that Sui, or however it is pronounced, I believe they've recently partnered with Goat Network, which is a Bitcoin L2, uh, essentially like an entangled roll-up design. But beginning as like a Bitcoin L2,
Mm.
which offers like native yield, native Bitcoin security, and they're building with ZKM's zero knowledge virtual machine. And yeah, I believe they recently partnered with Sui or Sui, whatever. Let's agree on Sui
That's
for short.
huge. Yeah, that's huge. They've got a lot of the culture that Solana has. I've worked with a few things with them, mainly like long ago when they first began, just to like check them out. So around the same time I was looking at, yeah, um, I'm very impressed with what they're doing. I expect big
Mhm.
things.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I'm gonna flick to the next page. So mobile wallet use hits record highs, driven by growth in countries such as Nigeria, India, and Argentina. So yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like these countries where their local governments are making things difficult financially with banking. You know, they don't have access to banking, or their currency is being destabilized, and like inflation's just infeasible, making everybody insanely poor. So that people are actually turning to crypto as like a base currency, which is
Mm.
incredible. And I think that I personally think that this is the beginning of what will happen with every nation, and I know that that almost seems inconceivable right now to imagine, but I bet you 10 years ago, the people in Argentina found it inconceivable that this would be happening to them, that their currency would be
Yes.
so devalued that they would need to be shifting gears to other currencies, like virtual
Mm.
currencies. And yeah, I think it's going to happen all over the world. This is this is a wealth transfer shift like we've never seen before in the history of mankind, in the history of the world, and the next 10, 20, 30 years are going to be immensely interesting. And I think this is, I mean, disclosure, I don't own any fiat currency, and, but barring that, which I absolutely have to, everything goes into crypto. I believe in this wealth transfer. I believe in the long term. I know it's
Oh
happening
wow.
gradually, and
I actually didn't
there's
know
going to
that
be
about you.
yeah, there's going to be bubbles. There's going to be cycles of you know, the price movement going up and down, but it's like whatever. Like long term, I do believe in cryptocurrencies being the currencies of the world, and fiat is
Mm.
going to gradually fade away. So yeah, this is I'm just I've got a very 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 strong long term conviction in this space and in the financial side of it too. So, but yeah, this is very interesting, and I think this trend that we see here on the screen is just going to continue to happen, and it's gonna increase with every other country over time too, not just the countries mentioned here. So we estimate that only 5 to 10% of crypto owners are active users. Yeah, most buy it and
Mm.
hold it, don't they? That for whatever reason, either the reason that I just mentioned, fiat's going to zero, and they, you know, they needed like a stable asset to hold that's gonna counteract the inflation and
So I think
debasing
that's,
the
that's very much
currency.
where like the NFTs come into play. You can still hold, but also have like access to certain kinds of activities and you know all different kinds of functions. So I think it makes sense that it's maybe gone down how active people were. Like this, they'll actually, yeah, going forward, they'll mention secondary markets.
Mhm.
Mm.
There's a big opportunity to re-engage passive holders on chain. So we just actually talked about Goat Network, so that's kind of an interesting statement. So you have lots of people passively holding their Bitcoin, for example, on in cold storage or wherever they happen to their preferred choice. And you now have projects like Goat Network who are offering like almost like a staking service. It's not staking. It's like you can use your Bitcoin to help secure a sequencer and share ownership in the Goat Network. Um, yeah, the Goat network itself.
Mm.
I'm not the person to talk about it, so I won't try. I won't try and pretend and try and go into detail. But yeah, if you're interested in that, I'm sure there's plenty of resources on the Goat network, Twitter and YouTube, and yeah, feel free to look into them. It's one that I'm currently looking into pretty closely. And if there's a way to like utilize your idle Bitcoin and earn like a passive yield from it, then yeah, of course I'm going to go for it, providing it's completely secure. So, which is what they claim. But yeah, they're taking it slowly. Not financial advice at all, by the way. 30 to 60 million estimated monthly active users. Wow. Okay, that's. I mean, that's a lot.
That is a lot. That is a lot.
So
Estimated.
when you think of the population of the world is what, like 7 or 8 billion? I think it's about 8 billion at this point. So 30, say 50 million. Well, no, say 40 million. In terms of like percentages, oh my goodness, I'm about to try and do some math really badly, but
This is some insane math.
if I'm gonna take a shot and I'm gonna say like 0.5% of the population of the world are currently monthly active crypto users. I think I've done my maths correctly, so yeah, I'm pretty sure. Um, so that I mean that's a huge number, and I think over time I think it's gonna be 100% over time. I don't know how long that time period's gonna be, but it's gonna be 100% over time. So
And this is
yeah.
all only like really began and really started. Like there was not much happening in 2020
Mhm.
based on the information they've given.
Yeah, yeah, like we're actually seeing like actual adoption rather than
Yeah.
like I don't even think we're in like a hype cycle as such. I just think we're in an adoption cycle currently, and we're
Mm.
probably going to get another hype cycle at some point, you know. But it's yeah, what we're currently seeing is just people actually buying Bitcoin and believing in it. Like the institutions, like they're not buying it to. Some of them will buy it and probably sell into a cycle, but others are going to buy it and hold it, like they hold an S&P 500 stock for 10 years or 20 years or however long, forever even. So very very interesting times. Let's move on. Crypto has become a key political issue. Has it? Is that to do with Trump? Yes, it is. We will partner together to invest in America's competitiveness, to invest in America's. Oh, let's not read Kamala Harris. This afternoon, I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet. Yeah, he's going to say stuff to get voters too. So I'm taking all this with a pinch of salt. Like, Trump's a smart guy, business-wise. He knows how to win people over, and he's trying to win the crypto community. I think he's done a very, very good job of it. Um, Crypto interest is rising in several swing states. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin see the top 5 biggest jumps. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think Elon Musk, like a day ago, 2 days ago, was in Pennsylvania speaking to them, and with his narratives. So it's quite interesting
Yes.
to see them adopted so rapidly. Then North
Yeah,
Dakota, jeez.
he's the absolute master of I don't know if I'll use the word manipulating perception, but influencing perception. I think that's the best way. Public perception. He's extremely, extremely. I would say intuitively in tune with how to
Hmm.
influence the public, and yeah, he's just an
But
absolute
it
all-round
wasn't.
genius.
I think in the beginning, he was a crazy man with big wishes. I think he's earned a lot of respect. So I blindly
Well,
trust him.
his wishes seemed crazy, and then he pulled them off, and it's like, okay, so he wasn't crazy after all. He's just very smart. He's
Yeah.
just ahead of everybody else, in so many ways. He's one of these incredibly unique individuals. He's just like multifaceted, talented,
Mm.
amazing engineering brain, amazing business brain, amazing awareness of marketing and he just understands everything. So yeah, interesting guy. 40 plus million Americans own crypto. They are young, bipartisan, and supportive of pro crypto candidates. 40 million plus Americans own crypto. So what's the population of the US? Is it like 250
I
million
think
or
last I saw was 365 or 366. I might
yeah,
be wrong.
probably.
I can quickly check.
Yeah, I'm checking too. I haven't actually
Okay.
looked this up for probably 10 years or something, so I'm probably going by figures many years ago. Yeah, okay. Are you checking by any chance? Because I'll stop checking
All
if
right,
you are.
I'll quickly look.
Okay.
Um,
So 51%, 25% of Americans aged 18 to 34 own crypto. 51% say they're likely to throw their weight behind crypto-friendly candidates.
it says
51%. That's amazing.
335 million. Wow,
Gotcha.
that's enormous.
So 40 plus million Americans. So that's maybe 15% or so that own crypto. So again,
Hmm.
very early. Like they'll all be owning it at some point. In swing states, 41% identify as Democrats, 39% identify as Republicans, and 20% identify. Okay, that's not really relevant to us.
A lot
But
of American
51%.
things, yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Sorry, say again.
No, just surprising how much like politics. Like, I'm not sure why it would be mentioned. The holders and which political side they align with.
Yeah, well, it's like
Have
I
they
think a
done this
lot of
before?
people
Let's actually go
mention
look.
mention
Yeah.
crypto in this kind of light. I think
Hmm.
it's the fact that I think it's seeing such adoption, and people feel so strongly about it that they will actually base their entire political decisions on candidates who are pro crypto. Like that really is how a huge portion of the population are thinking, to like a more or less degree, sorry. And like I have friends, like I probably think like that too. I think for me that's just nature now. But I have friends who I talk to, and they are, yeah, they will quite literally vote for the candidate who's pro crypto because crypto is the thing, their biggest belief. You know, it's almost like a cult. It's like a religion to many
Mm.
people. So and that religion is spreading like yeah, no religion has spread before for a very long time. So I think
Wow.
it makes a lot of sense that this is coming into politics and they're using it to influence voting, essentially.
Different world.
Um,
Different world.
for sure. Major crypto policy calls for input. The EU and UK lead when it comes to public engagement on crypto policy and regulation. Um, yeah. So yeah, I'm from the UK, and I did recently read something about proposing a capital gains tax of 40% on unrealized gains
Oh,
of your
cry.
crypto holdings. And yeah, this is worrying to say the least. So it's not like I can just pick up and leave. Yeah, I have family here, and yeah, I'm not one of these who can just jump off to Costa Rica or Portugal, or
Salvador. Yeah. I saw
yeah, somewhere like.
the AEU can buy homes now in crypto. There really is no reason to go back to fiat in my country, and like I guess Africa as a whole. It's not quite there, and I think it'll take a while to get there. But luckily, BRICS, we have BRICS, so we move with them, um,
Mhm.
like together. I think that's our political parties is BRICS.
Gotcha. Yeah, is
Mm.
that like that's
Oh,
almost I
Russia,
don't know if
um,
yeah, Russia, like, in is it China, India,
yeah,
Brazil?
yeah,
Um,
Iran, AU, they
it's
like Dubai and them joined in January.
it's mhm. It's almost like
Yeah,
an anti-America establishment. That's how I see it. An anti-Western
yes,
establishment. Just,
yes.
just rather than just letting the Americans dictate and take over, at their will. It's like BRICS is almost like fighting back against that
Mm.
that culture. But yeah, so let's move on, I
Cool.
guess. The crypto industry is on a path towards more regulatory clarity after some major policy wins in 2024. I think we can move on.
Yeah, this was a big year for that. This was a very big year. Last year, I thought crypto would be taken away from us, and then this year, like it was almost like in within a week, everything was just allowed. The
Mm.
SEC moved back, um, so that's quite amazing. I never
Yeah,
thought
for
it would
sure.
come so fast.
Yeah, all of these ETFs as well. I mean, it's clearly here to stay. I think even nations and individuals who are almost to some degree influencing the regulation. They actually much of them are invested in crypto too. Like they have incentives to see crypto succeed themselves. So
Mm.
it's just not going to go anywhere. And you've got some really powerful individuals like Larry Fink of BlackRock, and they're literally championing Bitcoin and Ethereum and probably other currencies in the future. Like every day, they're appearing on some news broadcast, and they're saying it's digital gold, and all these narratives that we had back in 2021,
I think
2020,
wasn't it
2021.
Tesla? Tesla bought like the first time in 4 years. They bought crypto, and they were just I think it was like a ridiculous sum of money of Bitcoin. So, and then they bought again. So I'm not sure what's going on,
Mhm.
but guess we have their attention now.
Yeah, for sure. So, like at the end of 2020, I remember like Elon Musk and Tesla buying Bitcoin. I think it was like November 2020, and that almost like kickstarted like the parabolic phase of the cycle. And yeah, it's interesting that they're now coming back in, and there's like almost no reaction to it whatsoever. It just shows where we are.
Yeah.
I wonder what the next major catalyst, like cycle catalyst, will be. It'll be something. I think it'll be like a major nation state declaring that they've bought Bitcoin. So even America, like say Trump gets into power, and he's like, "We, America, the US have just bought $5 billion worth of Bitcoin," or something, something like that. And it's like the
Yeah.
entire US population who are anti-crypto, who, for lack of a better way to phrase it, like these like sheep type people who just follow the government's lead and, just let them sort of
Mm.
dictate their views. Suddenly, that consensual societal view becomes pro crypto, and if the government's doing it, then we're doing it too. So that could very much be like a catalyst.
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
I mean,
they
that's good.
must
That's good.
move. They must. Yeah, I mean, like they're using pensioners' funds and like those crazy funds to buy into like oil and terrible carbon emission companies. If they move their, um, source of like income to these kind of digital assets, I think that would be. Personally, I think that's where the game will change, or the world will heal. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I would do if I was president for a day.
I think that's the theory, right? It's like it's just that crypto eats all assets, basically. It just eats
It's also
everything.
green. It's also the green factor of it. You don't have to support terrible companies because terrible companies do tend to make the most money. Moving onto something else with a good APY. It's just
Yeah.
greener, better for the earth, to a degree.
I think there's many pluses.
Yeah.
Many pluses. The ease of being able to transfer value. Like imagine trying to transfer, 10 bars of gold from here to the US, like the logistics and the risk and everything involved in that. Now you can just buy digital gold. You
Mm.
can transfer it over in like an instant, to another wallet, whatever. All right, I'm going to move on. So the SEC's Bitcoin and Ethereum ETP approvals, ETP, have
Through
broadened
commonly
investor
called
access to
ETF.
crypto.
Yeah, actually, it says ETPs using SE's form S1. Okay,
Okay, these are
so it's
actually
just a
registered as
different name.
ETPs. Gotcha. Okay.
Mm.
Bitcoin and Ethereum exchange traded products, ETPs, daily net flows. 58 billion total on-chain holdings for Bitcoin and 7 billion on-chain holdings for Ethereum. So, I mean, I don't really want to harp on about like price action and things, but in terms of like the narrative, obviously the ETF narrative for Bitcoin was hugely successful, and there was a huge price rally like right the way through. I would say through most of 2023, anticipating um, this ETF being launched, and with Ethereum, many people were expecting it to do the same thing, and once the ETF hits, they expect it to skyrocket, etc. But Ethereum just didn't see the same kind of price action. I think considering the fact that when the ETF hit, Bitcoin was pretty much at like an all-time high, and then it kind of slowly dipped off, or pretty quickly dipped off, I think.
Mm.
I think people maybe just thought the same thing was going to happen with Ethereum and just lost faith. So people didn't rally like people expected. The US dollar faces competition from foreign sovereign digital currencies, so CBDCs. So the banks have doubled since. Oh, sorry. CBDC developments between banks have doubled since Russia's invasion of Ukraine and resulting sanctions. There are now 13 cross-border projects between banks, including mBridge, which connects Thailand, China, Hong Kong, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and others. So CBDCs, I personally see them as like a threat. So I think people may believe that they're like buying digital currencies, and governments are going to push CBDCs for their own agendas and their own
Narrative.
benefits.
Mm. I think it fell
Um,
off. A lot of movement that was made towards these things has just fallen off. A lot of the key political parties and members, um, either resigned or went on to do other things, or just lost faith, from the communities, and I don't see it working out the way they thought. I know it was a big push
mm,
from the Indian. I think it was like a president or one of the richest like families there, and they were your last prime minister was, I believe, his nephew. So they pushed for it, and then I think it was not G6, but we have another one where they went and met to talk about these bodies and creating them, because it seems like it's not happening anymore, like the way they
mhm.
thought it would.
Yeah, or the way they planned it would,
Mm.
perhaps.
Yeah,
Um, Stablecoins can strengthen the US dollar's position as its global reserve currency status slips. Um, Interesting. So yeah, that's kind of what we don't want.
yeah.
I guess we're all kind of like
This
reaching.
is yeah.
We're all rooting for
Sorry.
Bitcoin to become the global reserve currency, and we don't really just want the dollar maintaining its status just in like a digital form. I don't think that really helps anything. You can still print the dollar, and you can still print the digital form of the dollar, so you don't solve any of the inflation issues. And
Mm.
yeah, it's not a good store of value for sure. Something that you can print to infinity at the whim of the Fed is not a good store of value, clearly, because you're just debasing everybody's holdings.
But a lot of movement is, there's a lot of companies that have started now, like just this year alone, that are moving into more of like a self-custodial kind of sense. So where it's not tethered to a dollar. I'm not too sure how that tech works, or the pools and how they're maintained. But I think there are people looking at moving away from being attached to some sort of fiat currency.
Mhm.
But yeah, risky business.
For sure. Stablecoins are only a decade old. Now they're a top 20 and rising holder of US debt. Stablecoins compared to major foreign holders of US Treasury securities. Stablecoins are now above Germany in terms of major foreign holders of US Treasury securities. Oh, sorry, in terms of US Treasury securities. $11 billion held in US Treasuries, USDC. $81 billion held in US Treasuries, Tether. Very, very interesting. More than the German currency.
So I guess they are holding. Is this, am I receiving this right? Like they are
They're
holding?
they're holding stables. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not completely clued up about this. Sources: the US Department of Treasury, latest statements from Tether and Circle. Oh, interesting. In countries with rampant inflation, people turn to stablecoins to protect their assets. Okay, that I don't get. I mean, surely, like, stablecoins aren't limited either. Tether constantly printing new Tether. It's like, that doesn't solve your issue. How does that make sense? Maybe I'm missing something. Argentine pesos purchasing power versus in US dollars. Yeah, okay, now I understand. Okay, that makes more sense. So they're not changing their dollars to stablecoin dollars. They're changing their like Argentine pesos to stablecoin dollars. So they're using the US dollar as
Oh, I see. Okay.
or
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It's just I guess it's easy for them to buy. Like they can hop on an exchange and they can swap the Argentine pesos for USDT or USDC, and they don't suffer from that same debasement that the Argentine peso is suffering from. I think that's the main takeaway there. As finance and tech consolidate power in big banks and big tech, this isn't really ZK, is it? Apologies to
Let's
anybody
skip ahead.
listening. Yeah,
Let's skip
shall we?
ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Should we
Let's do it.
find? Oh, we're
There we
right here
go.
anyway.
Yeah.
We could. Is there
Okay. Let's
anything
finish it.
interesting from this last
Um,
page, since it is the last page? Market cap of the Nasdaq. Nvidia, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, and Apple, the top six tech companies make up more than half of the Nasdaq 100's value. So this is the big thing, isn't it?
Jeez.
When you're investing in cryptocurrencies, this is how I expect, like the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. This is how I expect the crypto charts to look long term. So rather than these insane hype cycles where, everything does a 10, 20, 50, 100x and then drops 80%, 90% plus, I think it will start to stable out over time.
Yeah, and
And
also
it will
like,
start. Mhm.
sorry, I can finish that. Sorry.
I was just going to say, and it will just start to look more like an S&P 500 chart where it's just like this gradual upward movement with some, occasional slight downswings, if you look at the macro picture, at least.
Yeah. A lot of those companies there have like great infrastructure. That's why I think we should really put more grants towards deepen and the actual like general infrastructure of crypto. With Solana making their phone, things like that is a good start. More tech comes into the house and is like infused and integrated into the crypto world, and it does well, that could be, sensational.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this is the section that we've been looking forward to. So infrastructure is maturing. Crypto is multi-chain, with value flowing between increasingly interoperable blockchains. So, I mean, that's a big thing that many people are working on, is like interoperability between blockchains. And they have all these different solutions, or so-called solutions. I think there's various trade-offs between the different solutions. How do you kind of envision the perfect interoperability solution? So I mean, I can go first if you like. So from like a UX perspective, so sorry, I just ask you the question, answer it myself. But I just wanna make this initial point. So from like a UX perspective, I think what we need for like my grandma to be able to understand and buy and hold crypto and use it easily is an extremely easily downloadable wallet with a single innate app that allows you to perform all of the functions of DeFi without any kind of complexity, or sorry, all of like the core functions, like so that
Yeah.
like you're the same kinds of things that your bank would offer you. We need kind of that in a
But that's,
decentralized app.
we do
Mhm.
kind of are beginning there with this account abstraction, not having to go through, an absolute chaos, and just being able to just sign in, and it's secured, and it's still tethered to you. You still can control it. I think it's there. I think it's beginning. There's only we have a small amount of builders in like the crypto world compared to the rest, and these guys are coming in and going to build. And account abstraction seems to be and should be the meta, so that people like our grandmothers can come in, download it. They don't have to sign in, remember keys, and it's just a madness. So I
Yeah,
think the
exactly.
UX is getting better.
Yeah, oh yeah, the UX is definitely getting better. I think we're still
Mm.
some way off any kind of end state and like ideal end state, but definitely improving all the time. I think with like so Justin Drake gave a presentation on Tuesday's virtual conference, HoZK virtual conference, and he was talking about how the base layer will essentially be the Ethereum base layer will essentially incorporate ZKVMs for off-chain computation. And he proposed something that I proposed to the ZKM team some time ago, which is it almost looked to me, he didn't use these words, but it almost looked to me like decentralizing the ZKVM. So in the case of bugs within a particular ZKVM, the ZKVM can be shifted, and he highlighted like RISC-V based ZKVMs. But yeah, I personally don't understand I did ask him about the reasons for highlighting RISC-V in particular, and there didn't seem to be a particularly solid reason. Like MIPS-based CKVMs definitely have their place too, and can
Mm.
do things just as well, if not better, like in some cases. So, but the point I was going to make is that so if Ethereum is able to scale in the way that he was proposing, essentially bringing the gas limit down to something very, very minute, and being able to handle a huge amount of TPS. This kind of thing that the UX, you're then able to build like a UX on top of that kind of, and Ethereum being the biggest network of dApps, decentralized applications in existence. Like when that does happen, yeah, so you'll be able to build a UX on top of that that becomes more harmonious with what people desire and what people need. Cheap fees, very
Mm.
fast transactions, not need to think about in any way about the back end or have any kind of contact with it whatsoever. Like it's all just this very, very nice, beautiful UX that's doing everything you want it to do. So that's almost like the end state, and that's with regards to interoperability, something that can do that and connect, not just Ethereum, but also Near and I don't know, name any and every L1 and L2, and bring them together into like almost like a single ecosystem, so that you don't even know that you're using different blockchains.
Yeah.
You just see you
But
just see the dApps.
and that's the thing. Like I think the best apps are yet to be made. You know, there hasn't been a case for that yet. Like it definitely can. If it did exist at the moment, it would be used for DeFi. And I think most people don't really want to play with their money as much as others do. maybe they want more of a social experience, or actually, just that, like in a social experience of in Web 2, you have money, you buy a computer, you plug it in, and you can socialize, and can be used for so many different things. Crypto can be that way too, where if I want to send someone a message, I don't need to pay for it, and things are happening. I do think the social world should open up a little bit more, and a little bit more focus should be put there, just in terms of our daily active users count.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, I agree completely. A significant portion of Ethereum activity is moving to L2s, drastically reducing costs for users. Fees paid by L2s in Ethereum, percentage of all L1 fees rolling 30-day average before and after EIP 4844. I believe that EIP 4844 brought the cost of L2 transactions down, and probably just spread general awareness to L2s. Like if Ethereum are essentially endorsing this roll-up centric roadmap, which they are, and they're bringing in these protocols that essentially cater for L2s and reduce the fees in L2s, then people start to believe in L2s, rather than thinking, Ethereum is the end game and the end state, which ultimately it may be, depending on what they're able to do with the base layer over time and make it more usable. But currently it's L2s, and you've got the endorsement of the Ethereum devs, of Vitalik Buterin, etc. So it's not surprising that you're seeing this big shift from Ethereum to L2s in terms of adoption and people using them.
Seeing if that UX can be a bit better, then I think it'll be like everyone will naturally move towards it. But I think that's the UX that is kind of tricky at the moment, a lot of bridging and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bridging is bridging. Yeah, it's hard to trust an intermediary blockchain that could. We've had these bridge hacks in the past where a bridge has been holding so many millions, and yeah, it just goes down or it's hacked, and suddenly there's $100 million lost or something. So bridges, and they're just not very fun to use. Having to mess about with bridges is just a pain a lot of the time. So we definitely need these UXs that connect blockchains in a much more seamless way and a completely secure way. So I think that's actually what ZK VMs can offer, and you've particularly got ZKM's entangled rollup design, which proposes a seamless way to connect various ZK rollups via a ZK VM. And proofs are essentially sent from one blockchain to another to update or to prove the updated state of the sending blockchain. And so we're definitely seeing big improvements in these things. Cost to send USD internationally, $44 via international wire transfer, $12 via USDC on Ethereum, $1 via USDC on Ethereum. Oh, sorry, that was 2021, the previous. Now, September 2024 is costing $1 to send USDC on Ethereum. And it's cost less than a cent to send USDC on the base L2.
On base. Base has done very well for themselves. I think it's just the beginning. I'm really, really impressed.
Yeah,
and their UX
I
is very good.
I think having Coinbase as the association helps a lot. So it's like, obviously, Coinbase already has this massive user base, and they already have this trust of like many institutions and many of its. So if they're gonna create an L2, you're gonna instantly get mass adoption. So yeah, it's pretty well structured. While Ethereum is committed to L2 scaling, other high throughput blockchains are gaining traction. Sorry, I'm getting tired. It's been a long morning. Total value locked in non-EVM blockchains: Neoton, Aptos, Sui, Solana.
Solana is just insane. I was developing and it was worth like $8, and I looked up and they were $20, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. I should have bought more.
Yeah, I didn't. So yeah, beginning of 2023, when Solana like hit $8, it was like I personally just saw everything else as being a bigger opportunity. So,
Mm.
yeah, I don't generally like to talk about investments and price action and things, but since we're on the subject, it's like I didn't understand that the hype around Solana. I was like, that's been and gone. That's last year's news. You got to
Mm.
look at the next big thing. But yeah, Solana came back, and I think it bounced harder than just about anything else in like the top 1,000 market cap
Since
coins, more or less.
yeah, it's just that pump.fun. It made young people be able to make, spend $1 or $2 when that's really all they would want to. They wanted to hold $100 but spend $20. And then
Mhm.
pump.fun really allowed them to do these things. And Solana is extremely cheap to send transactions. You don't feel it or even know about it. And I think it really
Mhm.
pulled in a lot of people. And then they went on to start working. And, I guess they found their little home.
I can't get over the centralization issues though. So yeah, the UX might be great, but it's as far as I know that there are centralization issues with Solana, and the whole point of interacting on chain is I, I I personally think when the hype cycles die out and you get all of these what I would call degens start to that they the volatility won't be there to play with anymore, and you won't get people just making these absurd investments. I mean, it may carry on forever. I don't know, but I
I
feel
don't
like that
think
will
so.
slowly.
Yeah. I think it's
I feel
happening
like it
now.
will. Yeah, so I feel like it will gradually fade out over time,
Yeah.
and I feel like Solana will gradually die down with it because when people start to come back to chains with like really solid fundamentals, yes, Solana might be a good UX experience, but if they look into the decentralization security aspects, they may find some issues there. I'm not positing anything in particular, and I'm
Mm.
definitely not read up on Solana enough to make a definitive statement, but just from what I've heard, I guess, so this is more supposition than fact, but this could happen. That the the traffic could start to fall away from Solana and back into these other blockchains with perhaps stronger fundamentals. But I could be completely wrong. Solana may become the
So,
blockchain of the world, and
yes,
all economic activity may happen in Solana one day. I don't know. Who knows?
I think, sorry, just one second before we move on.
Of
Um,
course.
Most of the apps that, the degens are using, a lot of bad actors have gotten involved. In the beginning, you like a 1 in 5 chance of having a 10x. Now it's gone to 90% of all the opportunities are rugs or, dishonest like actors. So I think people are looking for new opportunities, and it's starting to dawn on them that infrastructure is a safer bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Especially long term. I mean, of course, but even as like short term investments for these traders. I mean, it's not something I know about. It's not something I'm interested in personally, but um, yeah, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine gambling. What? Yeah, no, I don't know. Anyway, let's not go down that route. Blockchains now process 50x as many transactions per second as they did just 4 years ago. So blockchains now process 50x as many transactions per second as they did just 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we were at an all-time high market cap around about now. No, that's 2020. So 3 years ago, sorry. So we're going back as far as four. But yeah, that's still a significant figure. That just goes to show the amount of interest in crypto has surged since late 2020. And if we could consider ourselves to be talking about cycles again, I guess. If we could consider ourselves to be now in something like what we were late 2020, which is kind of how I envision it to some degree. Again, not financial advice at all. This is just my personal macro market perspective. It's very interesting that with 50x as many transactions as we were at that point just before a parabolic bull run in 2021. And yeah, I feel like where we're going next with the markets is very, very exciting, to say the least. I think we're going to come into another hype cycle, whether it's soon or not. I can't be sure, but I feel like the next one's going to be very fun to observe, and it's going
Mm.
to be very interesting to see how how the perspectives of the people around me in my daily life and of the news and everything that's kind of in your face on a daily basis, how the sentiment towards crypto kind of changes over time within that cycle, and then how it fades back out again towards the end. Like I'm in it for the journey, and I just like to observe these things rather, if not take advantage of them financially. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't like to play with markets if I can help it, because you play with fire, you're going to get burned. But it's interesting to just observe the process and to enjoy the process. But yeah, anyway, so let's move on. Account abstraction is key to unlocking better user experiences with crypto.
Yeah.
This is what you were saying earlier. So
Yes.
interesting.
This has been when this came out, I was like, this is exactly what we've needed. It's just to help people be onboarded, because it used to be a nightmare. You've also been around for a long time, but it used to be really crazy to just like set up a wallet. You'd have to do it on multiple things. It was chaos.
Mhm.
This is the way. This is more developers need to start using this and making better apps, and everything will be fine. But I think we at the precipice of like a whole new dawn.
Of like UX. So smart contract wallets can provide social recovery options, sponsored transaction fees, efficient transaction bundling, spending limits, multi-factor authentication, wallet management system, better multi-chain UX, biometric authentication. So yeah, a lot of a lot
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
pluses to this. Monthly user operations related to account abstraction. In the last 3 months, 10% of all user actions on Base were invoked um, by ERC 4337 account abstraction. User operations represent actions that get bundled together and executed on behalf of users as part of account abstraction. ERC 4337 refers to the Ethereum standard for account abstraction, which enables new features for smart contracts. Yeah, so it is looking like this is at least going to be the meta for now. I think you said that earlier. This is
Mhm.
going to be the meta.
This is the way we've. I'm so happy this tech is now in.
So
There we
here we
go.
are. Finally, it's like what we're here for. We got to it after an hour. Zero knowledge proofs may be the end game for blockchain privacy, scaling, and interoperability. I mean, that's the for me, that's the meta. That's the I'm all in. I'm pretty much all in on ZK. Like I
Yeah.
think it's just gonna be absolutely huge. I love the people in the space, in the ZK space. I love the community. I love the experts. I love the passion, the dedication, the types of individuals, the characters you get, the seriousness of the people that are in this space, like how serious they are about building and their vision for the future. Like that's what I'm getting from these ZK folks, and that's what's kind of hooked me into the space and hooked me into trying to drive the space forward. And it kind of motivates me to work with these individuals and to give them a platform to speak on, and just to do what I can for ZK in general, and to help bring about its adoption. So this is what's driving House of ZK. This is what's driving me, and I'm very, very excited, to say the least, about where ZK is going. Um, Today, there are more than 250 crypto projects actively working to advance ZK technology. So that's absolutely nothing, to be honest with you. And a lot of those are going to be,
Yeah.
copycat type
It's
projects. Aren't really.
Nocturne. Yeah. This was the company I spoke about a few weeks ago. They just were so promising, and then I thought they closed. So maybe I was wrong. But one of their Twitter posts were that they were closing down. It's interesting to see them mentioned. Yeah, actually, go look
Yeah,
into it.
I remember you mentioning the other day. I had never heard of them personally, but so zero knowledge is used as a catch-all for cryptography that can succinctly prove that offloaded computations were performed correctly. So that doesn't even cover it. So this is what I'm reading that off of here. That doesn't cover it either, because zero knowledge isn't just used for the succinct proving aspect, which is enabling scalability. Like you can see projects here like HoZK or Features who are using ZK for privacy. They're not using it for its succinct quality at all. They're using it for its actual zero knowledge property. So this isn't as comprehensive as it could be in terms of like the information they're providing, but
Yeah,
it's still
I
it's
look
still
now and
interesting.
they Nocturnal, they closed down in June.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, honestly, I'd never heard of them before. I don't know
could have
anything
been
about them.
great. Yeah, they got like I don't even know, like $10 million or something. So, and they were just incredible. A lot of the people from Scroll and Polygon were working on it. So yeah, that's
Okay,
sad.
interesting. Well, so here we have ZK proofs can unlock a new programming paradigm for blockchains. ZK coprocessors allow complex computations to be run off-chain, giving smart contract developers access to cheap, verifiable compute. Okay, thank you. Okay, so use cases. This is kind of interesting. So data-intensive applications. So using ZK to I guess using its like recursive potential to almost
Mm.
like scale data processing like endlessly, which yeah again translates to machine learning applications, on-chain games, governance, bridging, options pricing, order books, state proofs, fetch Web2 data via zkTLS and zk email. And it lists here 3 zkVM projects: Risk Zero, Succinct, and Jolt, who no doubt perhaps sponsored this. But yeah, I would argue they're 3 of the biggest ZK VMs, if not the 3 biggest. You also have ZKM and
CK
ZK
Sync.
MIPS.
Yeah,
ZK Sync is a L2, so I don't believe. Are they building a ZK VM? I don't believe.
I just feel like
That's not.
there's so much TAS. They've done a lot, and I would mention them at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the top projects there are ZK coprocessors, and the bottom ones there are ZK VMs. So that would be the reason for ZK Sync being excluded here.
Oh,
So ZK Sync are like an L2. I believe they're working on their Elastic chain to become like an interoperable, almost like a universal L2 for the Ethereum ecosystem. Zero knowledge virtual machines, ZKVMs, are improving, but there's still a long way to go. State of the art ZKVMs in 2022, they've done a 10x increase, and I'm assuming that that is on speed, or is it just all round performance? So like cost and speed. Intel CPU clock speed. Oh, okay, that's what it is. Intel CPU clock speed in megahertz log scale. So they're essentially just getting faster and faster. ZK VMs allow developers to write programs in high-level programmer-friendly languages like Rust or Go without requiring any knowledge of the underlying math that proves their execution. But the improved usability typically adds significant performance overhead. So yeah, it's that performance overhead that I think every ZKVM project is working on reducing. And
mm,
the ones who do it the most successfully are obviously going to be the ones who become adopted. And so yeah, the faster you are, the cheaper you are, the less memory required to generate proofs, etc. All these kind of factors are involved in choosing the ZK VM and the one that you want to work with. So can I just read that top bit again? So ZK VMs allow developers to write programs in high-level programmer-friendly languages like Rust or Go. So like you would typically develop applications on Solana or whatever with Rust or Go, depending on the blockchain you're working with and the native language, without requiring any knowledge of So a ZKVM will essentially translate that higher level language into its own lower level language, whether it's RISC-V or MIPS, and it will then execute the computation or the transactions or whatever it happens to be, and send a proof of the correct execution of that transaction to wherever it's needed, essentially for a verifier to verify that the transaction was executed correctly. So
mm.
it's essentially what a ZKVM does, and it's just useful for
That's
for blockchains
Also,
in many ways.
that's also quite interesting. From 2022 to 2024, it's a 10x. That's
Mm.
mad. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, this is what I keep saying to people. Like, people keep. I really feel like many people in the ZK space, they have their heads pretty firmly focused on the present or the short-term foreseeable future. And I keep saying, this isn't it. We briefly touched on this earlier, but it's like, just keep working, just keep building, keep trying to develop. Don't worry about comparing yourself to others when all of these results that currently exist and all of these comparisons are going to be obsolete in 6 months. Like, we're this is 10x here. I expect another 10x in the next year, to be honest with you. The
Mm.
rate of development in ZK now it's expanding exponentially, and the tech is growing exponentially and developing exponentially. So we're in a very much an exponential phase of, or I think we're coming into one at least. Like, I think that's more my point. It's like we're not even in that yet. We're moving into that, and the more the more developers, the more cryptographers, the more everything that kind of moves over to ZK, and we're just gonna grow and grow and grow. So I really hate the culture of people getting caught up in current comparisons and trying to do each other over, because to be quite honest with you, like, none of the current ZK VMs are particularly fantastic yet. To be frank, like, they're all still in development. They're all still working on getting faster, cheaper, more usable, more ready for real world use cases, and production ready. So they're getting there. Like, they're getting very close to being there, but they're still not ready for, like, the mass adoption, or at least to fulfill the potential of what they ultimately will fulfill, which is to become integrated in, like, all digital systems, to scale data exponentially in many different ways and for many different purposes. Um, so yeah, I don't know. This is how I see it. So it's just like, I feel like, as a space in general, we need to focus on building and not competing. Competition drives us, of course it does. We want to be the best, but don't get bogged down on the current results, and don't just keep building. Keep your heads down, keep working. That's all I want to say. The share of ETH being staked and sometimes restaked is up, and it's increasing the security of the network. Pre-merge, 1 year post-merge, and 2 years post-merge. So
Wow.
more and more ETH is being staked as time goes on. So yeah, that's an interesting metric in itself. So it just goes to show the rate of conviction, I would say, in Ethereum is increasing, because if you're gonna stake your ETH, you're probably planning to hold it long term. I would guess. Should we leave it there, or should we briefly go over key applications?
I think maybe leave it then, and next time we can come back to key applications and maybe look into them.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a lot to do today, so it's probably good, and I've got a short time to do it in. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, it's been good to talk to you, Carl, and
Very interesting.
absolutely. And I guess we'll catch up next time for another stream, probably sometime next week. And
Okay.
yeah, see you all soon. Take care. Thanks for joining.
Cool. Perfect.